cramp be the start of labor, or is it just another pregnancy symptom? Today, I'll break down the 5 biggest signs that labor is starting and tell you when to call your doula, like when to exactly call her. If you're new here, my name's Andrea Weaver. I'm a full spectrum doula. I practice here in California, Los Angeles. This question gets asked of me a lot, even in the interview process with some of my families, when I'm mentoring doulas. Folks, how do I know? How do I know? And while there are some telltale signs, there are also some signs that you see in the movies. I want you to get the movie idea out of your mind about when labor is starting. We're going to give you some practical ones to look out for and kind of help you navigate what's next. Now, I'm going to give you also another caveat. Just because you're having these does not mean you need to rush to the hospital either. You want to, again, stay in contact with your doula, but the combination of these might be a really good sign that things are starting to move along. So the first one that most people don't even talk about is your baby drops. So the baby drops down into your pelvis a little bit further. You start to actually be able to breathe better, but you start to have a little bit more issue walking. What do they call it? You feel lightening in your groin area or across your pelvis or your labia. And it is really a good sign. Now, this can happen weeks before you give birth, but it is a good sign that you're having progress. So there's that. The next one is increased Braxton Hicks contractions. Braxton Hicks contractions are there to help you and your body prepare for birth. In order to get stronger, you have to work the muscle, and your uterus has to get stronger to be able to help you to get the baby out and to push the baby down into the birth canal and out. A sign that it's Braxton Hicks are a sign of labor is the momentum building up. So they're starting to happen longer and longer periods of time. The stretch and length of the contractions are longer. They may not be painful. They may not be where you can't stand. But I will say, sometimes we do mistake labor for Braxton Hicks contractions because, like I said, your body's preparing for labor. So over time, the Braxton Hicks get stronger and stronger. You just get used to them. And so in some cases, in experiences that I've had with some of my families, folks didn't even know they were in labor until they were in active labor and only hours from pushing. So be aware. Get a contraction timer. They have them all over any of the app stores. But Braxton Hicks are very much a sign that you are progressing. The next one, which actually gets people more excited, right? It's not the Hollywood style water breaking moment, but if you notice like a jellious discharge or like a light spotting with some jelly, it looks kind of pinkish, it means that your cervix is opening up. Well, Andrea, what do you mean? Well, during labor and delivery, you're going to be looking for 3 things. We talk about dilation a lot, but that is not the only thing we're looking for. Through this process with Braxton Hicks, as your body is preparing for baby, there's a couple of things that are happening simultaneously. Your cervix is ripening, yes, and the station of the baby is moving. So how high up the baby is in your pelvis or into the birth canal, how soft your cervix is, and how much your cervix has begun to spread are 3 things that you want to be talking about. So with a mucus plug and bloody show, that lets you know that the cervix is at least softening and beginning to spread. That plug that we call the mucus plug is there to keep the baby all good and safe. The mucus plug coming out doesn't always mean that your water breaks either. It's just a sign that your cervix is doing the things. You can absolutely call your doula as soon as you see that like jelly-like pink tinge discharge come out. Feel free to take a picture. I promise you they will not mind. Just take a picture, send it to them, talk it through, and see what's next. A lot of time nothing starts to happen, and then sometimes contractions start to pick up. So keep a lookout for that. Next is, of course, your water breaking, but not always. So only 15% of people actually experience a dramatic gush like the ones you see on TV. Remember I was telling you not to just hone in on the TV versions of stuff? This is the main one where it's boom, your water breaks. Oh my God, I'm having these amazing, crazy contractions. Let me get to my birthing space. It's not necessarily that way. Sometimes, actually most times, you have a trickle. For example, when I just gave birth to my 2-month-old baby back in November, I was sitting here watching TV with my family. I got up to go to the bathroom, and I just noticed that the pee was longer than normal. And it was a long, long trickle. It was like I wasn't peeing. I was literally just dripping. And so I went back to the bathroom and I called my partner and checked the toilet, and it had a little bit of a tinge of pink, which is also normal. But I did not have any contractions on my own for 12 hours. With your water breaking, and this is something you'll also want to discuss with your doula, is when you should go to the hospital when your water breaks. You do not have to go immediately. It is not necessarily a sign that things are going to happen. What you are looking out for in your water breaking is movement of the baby. How often are they moving? So if you're this far along, or your water breaks and you're early, if you're early, you need to go to the hospital immediately. But for those of us that make it to full term, give your birthing place a call, give your doula a call, let them know what's going on so they can start preparing to support you as you show up and get ready to get into this birth space. You don't want to not be checked on in that space of your water breaking for too long because of the risk of infection. Now, research says that you can not get induced and all the things within a 72-hour period. I like to tell my clients to not wait more than 24 hours before they go to the hospital. But once your water breaks, you want to also make sure you are not inserting anything, having no kind of penetrative sex. And please, of course, put on a good pad or your postpartum underwear to kind of catch some of the leaking. Your body is going to continue to make amniotic fluid while you are still holding the baby. How much is being made just really depends, but it's not necessarily a sign that things are immediately picking up. Like I said, even in my own birthing experience, mine trickled and just continued to trickle for a really long time. Consistent and strong contractions, right? So back again on the 5-1-1 rule. Usually contractions when we're in active labor, you cannot talk through them. You can only pause and breathe through them. And you'll want to make sure that you call your doula immediately. As soon as you get to the 5-1-1 rule, again, your contractions are 5 minutes apart. They're at least a minute long, full 60 seconds, and they've been going on for an hour. So 60 minutes altogether. Even if that happens quite a bit, feel free to give your doula a call anyway. But this is all really good signs that labor is progressing. The biggest sign is always the contractions, how long they are and how often they're coming, and the intensity. So 3 things: how often they're coming, the length of the contractions themselves, and the intensity. The intensity is one of the ones that gets missed a lot, where we end up going to the hospital too early. So give your doula a call as soon as you hit that 5-1-1 or even 4-1-1, depending on what you guys decide. Labor can feel super unpredictable, and it is, but you don't have to go through it alone. I do offer birth coaching. I've been a doula for a really long time, but I also have a lot of resources, and there's so many doulas out there, even on this platform, that are willing to give you information. And locally, I'm here in California, so there's a lot of resources. Everyone deserves a doula. Everyone. If you have questions, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them as much as I can, and I'll see you next time.